your host, Mimosa,
and co-host Kareem.
Welcome to Sometimes We're Boujee and Sometimes We Hood, to healing, navigating grief. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, you know what? I think I've been talking the whole time with nothing on. Oh my gosh. I tell you, today has been a day. So I think we're just gonna start all over and say, welcome to Sometimes We're Boujee,
Hey, sometimes we good.
a podcast dedicated to exploring complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance, where we speak truth about loss, healing, and everything in between. I'm your host, Auntie Mimosa.
Hey, this is cousin Kareem.
And whether you're in the depths of grief, slowly learning to live with loss, or supporting someone on their journey, this space is for you. Grief is deeply personal. There's no timeline, no rule book, and no right way to navigate it. No wrong or right way to navigate it. That's I always say that. But through shared experiences, honest conversations, and moments of reflection, we can find comfort, understanding, and hope. Today's episode is titled Grief Isn't Linear, Breaking the Stages Myth. If you've ever felt pressure to move on or get over it after a loss, you've likely run into the idea of the five stages of grief. And you know them: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And these are the original five. And two more stages have been added to these five. These stages have been taught in schools, written in countless books, and even quoted in movies.
Mm.
But here's the truth, right? Grief doesn't follow a neat checklist. Grief is messy, it's cynical, and deeply personal. And today we're going to break that myth wide open, right? So I was talking about the stages of grief most commonly came from the psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's five-stage model that she published in 1969, which was originally developed to like describe the emotions of terminally ill patients, but later expanded to apply more broadly to grief and loss. And of course, like I said, those five stages: denial, the shock and disbelief. It's a defense mechanism to buffer the immediate impact of a loss, then anger, right, which is the frustration, resentment, or blame directed inward, outward, and toward the situation. And then you have bargaining, which is trying to negotiate the if only, the what if, what if I was there more? What if what if I was there, then that person wouldn't have transitioned? Or what if the doctor did this? Or what if only, if only. So that's often that bargaining is usually with like a higher power or, oneself to reverse or even lessen the loss, the feelings of the loss, right?
Yeah, that impact. Yeah.
Right. And then there's depression, okay, which is the deep sadness of the emptiness or withdrawal as the reality of loss sets in. And then her original fifth stage was acceptance, which was coming to terms with the loss, finding ways to move on, and though not necessarily feeling okay about it, right? So we know that, these stages are not linear. People may move back and forth between them, skip some, experience them later in a different order. Modern grief, the modern grief theory emphasizes that grief is unique, like I said, it's personal, it's ongoing, it doesn't follow a strict timeline. There is no, you're going to be in denial for 3 to 5 months. You're going to be in anger for 2 days. You're going to be in there is no timeline. It's not structured, right? And it's ongoing. It's continuous. And then there's other models like the dual process model or Wharton's 4 tasks of mourning, which expands on this by framing grief as a process of oscillating between loss-oriented and restoration-oriented coping. Right?
Wow.
So, what are your thoughts about how you have experienced the stages of grief?
Mostly just I don't think I only go through like 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. Just the anger, the depression. Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't know if I've ever experienced some of the other ones. That's what was impressive when you was going through this for this podcast. I had no idea some of the other ones. I went through the regret. I did go to regret because for like me, it was I had came to a conclusion in my life. I think some kids have it with their parents where you're like, you know what? You did more than the best you could. So let me repay you by taking care of you. You just got to let me get to that stage where I'm able to take care of you. And it was Mother's Day, and I sent her a card. I sent her Mama from Boys to Men, that little single CD. And then 2 weeks after that, she was gone. And at first I was mad. Like, I just told you to take care of yourself. Then I find out what she was doing and trying to open up 2 elementary schools. Preschools. And it was like, she was so ambitious, my mom, that I couldn't slow her down. It was like almost stupid of me to even suggest that she would slow down when she was on the right track to doing what she wanted to do. And selfish of me, not stupid, selfish. That's the word I meant to say. And then I had the regrets, of course, moving quarter way around the world and all this yada yada. And it was just like I went through all that, like back and forth. But after a while and all of that, I found a peace just knowing that she wasn't in pain no more. But she showed, and then also I found a peace in knowing that she showed me a path. Like, don't give up. Like, just keep going forward, regardless of what anybody else says. Right. So yeah, that's how I dealt with it. I think at that time, those are the 3 that I dealt with. I didn't get to all 5. Maybe I did. I just didn't know it.
Right. You didn't recognize it.
Yeah, like I think if you never hear about it, then you really don't know how to recognize it, right? So
right,
it's a good thing just to know that this has been explored before,
right?
It's been explained, and in that explanation, there's no, well, you need to do it like this, you need to do it like that, you need to give this much, this time, this step, this amount of time. There's no structure to it. That's a good thing,
right? And that's the importance of this podcast. It is to talk about grief and how it affects everyone in every aspect, in every stage of life, and to educate, the public and educate the people. Because again, if you don't know how to recognize it. You have no idea what your experience is and what you're going through.
Yeah. Recognize it and then to rectify it. It's just you gotta know.
Because what do they say? What is it? Knowing is half the battle. Who said? What quote is that from?
Yeah, G.I. Joe.
No, right? Knowing is half the battle. G.I. Oh, I just told my age for real. I think
So
that's
good.
my age for real. Yes, knowing is half the battle, right?
Yeah, some cliches are stupid, like sticks and stones will break my bones, or words will never hurt me.
That
I
is
don't
so
know who came up with that one, but that is the dumbest because words cut like a sword. You know what I mean?
yes,
They
they
cut down
do,
to your soul. But yeah, but that one right there, that GI Joe one, that was a good one.
right? Knowing is half the battle. All right, all credits to GI Joe. That was,
Yeah,
yeah, but that is, and that's true. I mean, that is so true in the stage that we live in the stage that we live in now, and not even just where we are now today in society. That is one of those things that was true yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Okay, it is what they call, it's timeless, because when you are educated, when you have the knowledge about a subject matter, and you just have to apply it, you apply it to your life, and it doesn't go away. It
no,
never goes away, right? So yeah, it never goes away. So just to do like the comparison or give you in depth about the different models of grief, right?
yeah,
Kubler-Ross originally did the 5 stages of grief in 1969. So her original focus was actually on terminally ill patients. And then later it was adapted to general loss. Okay.
mm,
So, like we said, denial, shock, disbelief, emotional numbness, anger, frustration, resentment, sometimes displaced blame, blaming others, right? The bargaining, the if only, thoughts and attempts to negotiate or regain control, depression, sadness, withdrawal, hopelessness as reality sinks in that the individual is no longer here. And then acceptance, acknowledging the loss and finding a new normal. So the key takeaway from Keebler Ross was like, it's not linear. And, people may cycle back and forth through these 5 stages. You might come to some acceptance first, and then you may go to denial, then you might go on depression, then you might go into bargaining, then you might become angry, or you might get angry first, and then you go into, you know what I'm saying? It's not a 1, 2, 3, 4. It is not linear. It's not structured. You move through them however you move through them. Then there's Worden's Four Tasks of Mourning, which came out in 1982, and it focuses on active tasks rather than stages.
yeah.
Okay.
You gotta go through that one. 'Cause I never heard of that at all. But
Okay. So with Wharton's 4 tasks of mourning, it's the first one is accept the reality of the loss. So
mm,
acceptance. The second is process the pain of grief. The third one is adjust to a world without the individual. So
mm,
externally, internally, and spiritually. The fourth is finding an enduring connection with the individual that is transitioned, that deceased, while moving forward. And the key takeaway there is it encourages action and adjustment instead of passive movement through the stages. Okay.
God.
So it encourages action. So it's the application of moving through the stages, right? The third process, or the third one, is it's the dual process model of coping with bereavement. And that process was developed by Stroud and Shutt in 1999. And it views grief as an oscillation between two models: loss oriented coping and restoration oriented coping. Loss oriented coping is confronting emotions, memories, and yearning, whereas restoration oriented coping focuses on life changes responsibility, and new roles. And the key takeaway from that is like healthy grieving requires moving back and forth between confronting and avoiding the loss.
What do you mean by back and forth?
So it's right. So it's a healthy grieving requires moving back and forth between confronting and avoiding. So in other words, you're going back and forth between, if you were to relate that back to Kubler-Ross's, you would go between the acceptance and denial.
Gotcha.
It's like you would just move between those two.
Yeah, I think I experienced that one. I think it was just like the selfishness on my part to be like, but I needed more time. I wanted you to meet your grandkids and blah, blah. And it's just like, but then I'm like, all right, well, you good. I know you better now. And thanks. And then wait, then, regret for like one more thing. And then, yeah, I think I don't know how it is. I think when you lose your mom, it's a different, because that's the first person that you were in them for like 9 months, or maybe some people shorter,
right?
But unless you were born in a test tube, but and you can't discount that now. People gonna be like, yeah, I was born in a test tube or a beaker. I don't know. Things might change soon, but yeah, I think when you lose your mother, it's like that was the beginning stage, and it leaves the hole that you have to fill with something.
Right.
I think for visual people like me, maybe us, it's like when that hole is ripped out, when that person is ripped out, it leaves that hole. And that void is what you deal with, knowing that you got a void there.
Right. So imagine how my brain works, right? So imagine imagine yourself, right, as a solid piece of cheese. All right.
What are we, Swiss? What are we, Parmesan? What are we?
But that's the direction I'm going to. Like, imagine you were a solid block of cheese, and every time you lost someone you admired, loved, cared about, knew, a hole was taken out. Right? Talking about Swiss cheese, looking like Swiss cheese, right? Yeah. So then imagine, like I said, imagine what a block of Swiss cheese looked like. That slice of Swiss cheese with all the holes. That's us walking around, navigating life, moving through life with these holes and cracks, right? These pieces of us missing.
Yeah.
Because when that individual transitioned, a part of us and a piece of us went with them.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of this week. I was driving back from someplace, and I had this revelation years ago about trust and faith is equal, because trust is not given; it's earned. Faith is not. You don't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I have faith in something that you never seen, touched, or heard." But in that, and then you have love. Love is the same thing. All three on the same level. When you're dealing with people, you can have faith in people, to do something, to be there for you, to love you, to whatchamacallit. And then it comes down to the whole aspect of when you garner those three words, where you can say those three words about a person. You love them, you trust them, and you have faith in them. How many people in this world can you say that that's the case? That this is how I feel about that person? Because what happens is now, if you look at your relationships as people, you don't feel that way about everybody. You only feel that way about the closest people that have earned it. Like I said, all three words, love, trust, and faith, needs to be earned.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do earn those accolades,
Mm.
and then you lose, and then that person goes on, now you're stuck
Mm-hmm.
wondering with again a void, or do I got to do that again with somebody else? And for some people,
Right.
instead of trying to renew that
Mm-hmm.
with another person, is like,
Right.
yeah, I'm done. I'm just gonna just chill. And that's where you get that what is that, the withdrawn person.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you get that person who's just like, yeah. But there's, I don't know, because I was thinking about, like, does everybody look at it that way? Does everybody look at the viewpoint like I do? Like, are you just gonna go on and just keep trying to make new friends and try to rekindle that feeling of love, trust, and faith in a new person? Or do you, some people just like, look, I'm too old for that. If it happens, it happens.
That's a great question about, and that's a great statement. Love, trust, and faith need to be earned in people. And when it comes to your immediate circle, right, and gaining new friends, I think what takes place is that as we age, like the friends we make are the friends we make, right? That
Right.
relationships, those relationships that we cultivate, those relationships that we nurture throughout our life, that's pretty much it, right? And the individuals that come in later, after, agree, like you're not gonna have another mom.
Right.
That's not happening. You're not gonna have another mom. You may have a mother-like figure, right, in your life, someone that resembles a mother to you, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to have another grandmother, whether it's your mother's grandmother or your father's grandmother. You're not going to have another grandmother in your life. What you will have are grandmother figures in your life. If you have siblings, right? You're not going to have another sister and you're not going to have another brother. You have, those current siblings, or you have people that resemble those individuals in character, right? And in their how they move, the closeness that you become. Or
Yeah.
you have what we call today brother friends, sister friends, right? Um, Friends that act like or have the characteristics of sisters, or friends that act like and have the characteristics of a brother sibling because of the closeness that has been developed and the nurturing of that relationship, right?
Yeah. That's what they say in Proverbs for our religious friends out there. You know, you'll
Mm-hmm.
have a friend who sticks closer than a brother. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a real statement for a lot of people. And it's a, it's even crazier. It's like, that's a hurtful statement. Like, how do you figure that you're gonna have a friend that sticks closer than a blood relative, a blood sibling? But in life, a lot of people in the world have experienced that that no, okay, wait, I'm sorry, I'm bringing up a whole nother subject. The subject I'm bringing up is deceit. It's like when you get deceitful siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and now you feel like I lost my sibling. You know what I mean? It's like I can't count on them. I can't trust them. I know I love them, but it doesn't feel like love. And I definitely don't have faith that they're gonna do the right thing. And it's like when you get the loss when you don't have a loss.
Mm.
When you don't have a physical loss. It's more of a spiritual, emotional loss.
Spiritual and emotional loss, right? And that is, we talked about that, about grieving
Yeah.
people, or relatives and siblings and loved ones while they are still
Still alive.
alive. We talked about that, and those that going through that stage, and that is something that takes place. It is something that happens. And you talk about the relationships of friends, how we have a tendency to think as a society that because you have a blood sibling, okay, bloodline sibling, that because we are family, that the bond is tighter. No, we could be further from, I think that's further from the truth because of the fact that everybody is their own individual. Everybody has their own personality. Everybody has their own makeup and traits just because, and then you have to be taught that. Some people are not taught that family is the most important. Their people is just the structure that you're born into.
Yeah.
It's just the structure. It's the community that you're born into, the structure that you're born into, to help care for you as a baby, as an infant, as a toddler, as a teenager, until you get on your own. And then you create your own sector, your own family, your own community.
Yep. Then you got. I think that's too. We were going back to originally about the friends. It's like when the friends that you grew up with are different than the friends that when you're growing up that you decide to have a relationship with,
Right.
because you've gone through certain things and then you recognize certain things in each other, and then that's what makes the bond even stronger because you both have gone through things,
Mm-hmm.
and now you can fall back on those people and look at each other and be like, okay, well, at least I know you went through this just like I did. And I can respect what you have to say because it's so similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of, you have to, I think people need to understand it's like, even with grief, you have to have a circle and you have to elevate towards another level. Because you
Mm-hmm.
have some people who like to stay in grief because they found a comfortable place and they found somebody who can coddle them and let them stay there instead of encouraging them to move out.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's grief of loss, grief of missed opportunities, grief of um, being dealt a bad card, you know, like there's some disabled people who stay in a cycle of grief but don't look at what they can do. You know, they just look at what they can't.
Right.
And it's really it's a bad trait.
Robbie the Rooster agrees. Robbie the Rooster agrees.
Oh, you heard that? Yeah, my bad. Yeah,
Robbie the
a lot
Rooster
of
agrees.
chickies out here is wild. They don't let us kill them. Well, some people. But
Yeah,
anyway,
F1, F1. Right.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. But it's a to me, you need help. I don't think anybody can get through it without help,
Mm-hmm.
grief,
Right.
and hopefully you have the help that's encouraging. Because
Mm-hmm.
not all help is help.
Right.
You
Right.
have positive help. I think that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, that's what I was trying. It's like
Gotcha. Right. All friendships are not positive friendships, and all help is not positive help. So, and that is truth. That is very truth. So I'm move on to the 7 stages of grief, which is the popular adaptation of Kubler Ross, right?
hmm,
And it's an expanded framework often used in counseling today. So of course, number one, shock and denial, okay, with two, pain and guilt, three, anger and bargaining, four, depression, five, the upward turn, six, reconstruction and working through, and then seven, acceptance and hope.
hmm,
And the key takeaway from that is it adds a nuance by including healing and growth stages to the original five. Okay. And then the fifth model is
hmm.
reconstruction model. Meaning reconstruction model by Nehemiah, Nehemiah in 2000.
That's it.
And this focuses on making sense of the loss, which is grief as a process
Give me more.
Grief as a process of meaning making, identity rebuilding, and reconstructing one's worldview. Okay. So that's grief as a process of meaning making, identity rebuilding, and reconstructing one's worldview. And the key takeaway from that is that healing often comes through storytelling, rituals, and finding meaning in the aftermath,
Mm,
which is what we do
yeah.
on this podcast, right? Is we have storytelling, we talk about our loved ones, we look for the meaning in the aftermath in their transitions, and we go from there. And that's how we talk about that's why this podcast came about. And let's do a quick how they differ. So of course, Kubler-Ross's original model focuses on emotional response. It's structured to 5 stages, and the key idea is that emotions aren't linear, they ebb and flow, meaning you can go back and forth, right? Worden, his focus is on active tasks, and the structure is 4 tasks to grief. And healing, the key idea is that healing requires action and adjustment. Then you have the dual process, which focuses on a coping style. The structure of that is oscillation, back and forth, moving back and forth. And the key idea behind that is balance between facing and avoiding grief, right? And then the 7 stages, which is the most adaptive, the newest one, is the expanded emotions. It's 7 stages, and the key idea is that it adds a nuance to the emotional journey, which gives more to the emotional journey. And then the 5th model, which is meaning reconstruction, the
Thank you.
focus behind it is identity and purpose. The structure is it's a narrative based through storytelling and rituals. And the key idea, key component behind that is healing comes from making meanings, right?
Making meaning.
Yeah, making it meaningful.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So, the stages were meant to help us understand the emotional process of
Poster.
facing terminal illness, and somehow or somewhere along the way, they became an expectation for how we should grieve. Okay. And here's a question, like, have you ever felt guilty for not grieving like in the right order?
No. It's sometimes like I just had some people pass away,
Mm-hmm.
and for a second there, I did feel not feeling guilty about and doing it in the right way, but just not feeling like guilty that I didn't feel like boohoo and crying and something like that. I was just like, okay, well, that
Mm-hmm.
was that. That was that. You know. And I was like, am I being malicious? Like thinking like that? Like, I know these people for like decades, but at the same time, it's just like that was their life, and they're gone now. It's like, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
my life wasn't affected. And I said, man, maybe I am being a little bit too hard. But yeah, I never felt like it being done in the wrong way. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
steps and stuff like that. It was just like reflected. Oh, well, okay. And on to the next thing. Like I got I got paperwork to do, you know.
Right. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, you, when we grieve or hear news of someone transitioning, again, everyone deals with it different, and depending on where that person is in your life, like there's tears, right? For people in your life, there's tears, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I went through that. It was kind of like I got the phone call or message that an ex transitioned, right? And I was just like, oh, okay.
Like, yeah. Like next subject.
Right.
It's like, what are we doing now?
I was like, okay. So I acknowledged it, and I guess like I don't know, certain people's, I guess they were expecting me to respond a certain way, but I hadn't seen or spoke to this individual in well over 16 years, 17, something like that. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then, and the sad part of, I want to say this sad because the individual, he was like found like a week after. I think he was deceased or, had transitioned in his home or wherever he was at and had been there for like a week before being found.
Whew.
Right. So I was just, I mean, it didn't, I was just like, oh, okay. Sorry. You know?
See, like me, I would have been like, whoo, man, that must have, like, woo, the stench. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the first thing that pops in my mind. People are like, why would you say that? It's like, because it's true.
Right.
Like, after a week, ooh, what you smell that
right.
road. It's just like, get it, oof.
Right.
Anyway,
right. That part. So yeah, no. Did I feel guilty? No. I mean, and I've had instances where, I will talk about, with individuals in my circle. It's like, oh yeah, I got the news that, ex transition, and they were like, oh, my condolences. I was like, no. No, don't do that.
What does that word mean? I've never, can we just take a pause? Like, what does condolences mean? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, why do people just say cliches? And I've never, I'm going to look it up. Where's my phone?
I'm about to look it up now. Hold on.
I never thought about it just now. Like, what does condolences mean? Like, we just say stuff that we don't even know. It could mean some crazy thing.
No. So condolences means it's an expression of sympathy, compassion, or shared sorrow given to someone who is grieving after a loss, most often after the transition of a loved one. The word comes from the Latin condolere, con meaning with, dolere meaning to grieve or suffer. So literally meaning to grieve with. So when we offer condolences, we're actually saying, I share in your pain, or I am with you in your sorrow.
Are you though? Are you? It's just like, are you really? Like, are you though? Like,
that's a real question. Are you really with a person who is grieving?
Exactly.
Are you really sharing their pain? Are you really with them in their sorrow? So when so people give their condolences, through spoken word. I'm sorry for your loss. My condolences. My deepest condolences. They do written notes or cards or, gestures, flowers. They attend the funeral or, bring food and however they want to express it. And it's not about fixing the loss, right? It's about just acknowledging the pain and showing support, right? That's what it is. So, but yeah, do we? That is a question. I think I want to say I believe that people are programmed to say it.
They're programmed to say a lot. Like, this is the craziest one. Like, I was watching this video and dude parachute. I've been parachuting like 5 times. I didn't get my certification. I didn't go to 6 times, but the dude is falling. Backup, so you get a parachute, you get a backup parachute. The dude is backup parachute, and he's got the head, the what do you call those things? The camera, on top of his helmet. And he's like, boom. So he lands in a field, and he's like, boom, boom. You see him bounce and everything, right? He's like, oh. The other dude lands, you see him run over there. Are you all right? It's like, what the frick is wrong with you? I just fell out of an airplane. Like, how are you gonna ask that question? People are programmed to say, "Are you hurt?" I just fell out of an airplane. I'm lucky to be alive. You gonna ask me a dumb question like, "Am I hurt?" Of course I'm hurt. You know, my parachute failed. Like, what are you talking about? But we do that. You ask a dumb question. How do you feel? Right? You know.
So with that, let's talk about that. Let's talk about like society's love for order and structure, like in the quote unquote programming, right? So as human beings, we crave patterns, right? Or structure, some kind of structure or patterns. And in a world that feels chaotic and unhinged, structure brings comfort. Okay. So that's where like the part of, or that's how a part of the why Kubler-Ross's 5-stage model caught fire and just became so popular. And it offered something society absolutely loves. It's a roadmap, it's structure, it's it's predictable, right? So is predictability. It's the predictability of what's going on with you. The idea that grief flows in 5 clear stages, it suggests that we can anticipate what comes next, like making the unknown feeling less frightening, so to speak. Imagine prior to her discovery of the 5 stages, people navigating grief prior to putting a name on it. Right? What was that like? So, 2, then there's, control. But was it really? Because I gamble to say that prior to her studies, Kubler-Ross's studies, faith in religion practices was a lot stronger than it is now.
Yeah, there wasn't as many distractions as we have now.
Right? So faith in religion was a lot stronger than it is now. So when someone transitioned, depending on their faith model, their religious model, right? People did not question. They just believed what was said. They just believed what was taught. They did not question. And they moved that way. It is God's will. It is, whenever someone transition, however they transition, it is God's will done, regardless of whatever belief you have, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it also provided control for the mourners and for the people supporting them. The stages provided like a sense of control. Like if I know the step I'm on, eventually I know I'll get to the last one.
Yeah.
But again, the stages of grief, there is no last one. There is no last one. Because you consistently move through them.
Yeah.
All the time. One day they may hit harder than the other. Then we talk about the cultural fit, right? Western culture, especially prizes progression, productivity, and timelines, right? The stages fit neatly into that mindset. Moving from denial to acceptance feels like crossing the finish line. So where we are today with Western culture, here's the start at anger. Here's the finish line, acceptance. I'm good. And no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Not by a long shot. Not by, you're
Yeah.
not. Not by a long shot. And
Yeah.
if you are the type of individual who is like a sharp stickler in because I don't know anybody's whose life is like this. I really don't. Um, but can you imagine being that rigid in your life, in the control of your life, that when there is a transition of a loved one, you are really monitoring your feelings to say, okay, I'm in anger. I'm in denial. You know what I'm saying? And then move yourself emotionally through those stages.
I saw a video about, well, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about grief, but it was about anger. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe there's people who crave complete self control, you know, and that's what probably leads to what she had was trying to get to about the stages, because I just went through experience where I blacked out, almost blacked out, and I let words transform me from relatively 5 on a scale of anger to like a 12, and I almost blacked out. And it was a moment of reflection, because then a couple of like 5 hours after I talked to you, talked to my brother, I realized that it was wrong what the person said, but I could have responded differently. And it's like, for me, it's my level of trying to control my anger, because it's unnecessary sometimes to get that angry. But then at the same time, there's reasons to be angry. The emotion wouldn't be there. I think people, they take for granted the fact that we have emotions.
We have to, is it take for granted, or is it a matter of like really knowing how to control the emotion and
Yeah,
not
that's what it
react?
is. Yeah,
Is it a matter of like how not to react
yeah, that's what it
to
is. Instead of just letting it take over you. And I think some people, they because there's people who like to push buttons,
mm-hmm.
and you have people whose buttons get pushed. And when your button gets pushed and you act in a way that is detrimental to you now, where I just put your head through a car window and now you're all scratched up, and I might go to jail for, one, um, the, the damage to the vehicle, and then two, because of, I just hurt you,
assault?
assault, yeah, with the intent to, kill. And it's like,
This one. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so you know what I mean? So it puts you into a certain situation. And then when you get to a point where you've been through that situation, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I'm not gonna let anybody push my buttons anymore. Or
Right.
like, for dudes, when a girl be like, shut up, da, 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 and then you're like, shut up, smack, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just smacked the woman. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And she hit her head on the wall. Now she got a big bruise because she's yellow, red bone. You know what I mean? She high yellow. And everybody like, oh my goodness, what happened to you? Well, what happened was, so and so came home, he was mad and he just smacked me. No, that's not what happened. You antagonized the man to the point
Mm-hmm.
that he had no recourse but to do what he would normally do to a dude. And still is not an excuse, but stuff happens. And then that's what happened. You got your button pushed, and the next time after you got out of jail or whatever, whatever, and you're like, I don't want to have that happen again. That's when the request for control comes. I shouldn't
Right.
say, yeah,
But you have to be in control. You have to be in control of your reaction. And that's one of the biggest lessons in life that we all have to manage, right? Learning how to control our reactions to things. Do some things require extreme reaction? Do some things require mild reaction? Like, do you have to react? Do you have to respond?
I got an answer to that. It's
Like,
like, what happens is back
ego?
in the days, you would just do what you seen growing up. Like older person, male, if I'm a male, older person, female,
Mm-hmm.
you just model yourself after that. But with the advent of TV and cable now,
Mm.
you get all of
So,
these reactions
so you
that you
feel like
don't.
media? You feel
Yeah,
media has shifted the how we as a society control our emotions and how we react.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's the same way with grief. You see people on TV, oh, my husband died, my wife died, and the next scene they're out in the club. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and then so if you're not a person who has strong people in your family, or you don't have a role model that is well versed in life, that's kind of a cliche in itself. But you know what I mean? Somebody that you can model who can help you through it. Like the lady who told you got 3 days. You know what I mean? If you don't have somebody like that, then you'll seek it
Mm.
by any means necessary. And the visual that we see by learned behavior from our parents, uncles, aunts, somebody significant in our life
Mm-hmm.
has been replaced by media.
Okay.
Media has replaced the learned behavior. People are learning how to live a comical or a scripted life, you
Mm.
know. And when it comes to things like grief or anger or any kind of emotion, love,
Mm-hmm.
you ask people what is love to you, and they'll recite a thing from a movie that they saw. Or it's that one with Tom Cruise, like you had me at whatever. You know what I mean? It's like it's like
Right.
this is what they think is love, and they have no idea what it is. But that the TV media has replaced learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's really the world is the world is kind of misguided because
So,
people, these producers and writers, they're living in fantasy and they know they're writing fantasy, but
mm-hmm.
some people don't know that they're watching fantasy.
Okay, so we have a comment from actually from Instagram from this is Boss Nana 09, and the comment is learning to be the master of your mind and not allowing your mind to master you. Not easy, but doable when it comes to reaction. I believe that's when it comes to reaction and responding. Right? So now you talk about media. We talk about media, TV, movies, right? So, here's that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful question. Does art imitate life or is life imitating art?
Mm.
Okay. So, and I say that, I asked that question because prior to TV, right? Prior to media, how did we know? The people had bad tempers prior to media, right?
Yeah,
And I want to say 9 times out of 10, when a creative is creating, are they creating from their life, what they've experienced, what they see around them, or are they creating from imagination? A lot of times, because there are times where, and this is why people, I guess, like, I'm gonna say this. So this is why people like comedians, right? Because comedians make statements, serious statements, critical statements, funny,
yeah,
right? That the average person cannot say.
Facts.
That's why people like comedians and people laugh about it. A comedian can speak the truth. Comedian can speak the truth about a touchy subject. People will laugh about it and be okay with it. And that's it, and move on. But back to, when it comes to society and us as individuals and how we control our reactions and control our emotions, right? Grief doesn't play by those rules. It doesn't play by the rules. Real grief is messy, it is nonlinear, and it's deeply, deeply personal. I have said it again. When society clings to order, mourners may feel pressure to grieve correctly or um, move on with a set mind frame. And this, the love of structure, right, can unintentionally invalidate people who are still struggling years later or who never experienced anger or bargaining, right? So society loves order, right? We're like calendars. Um, 5-step plans. We like calendars, we like 5-step plans. And Kubler-Ross's stages introduced to her 5 stages. So we clung to them. We clung right to them. Not because they were perfect, the perfect truth about grief, but because it gave it gave us something neat and tidy to hold on to in a messy experience, right? And the problem is grief is anything but tidy. It is anything but tidy. Okay? It is anything but tidy. I'm going to say that again. Grief is anything but tidy. And when we try to squeeze it into a checklist, we risk making mourners feel broken if their experience doesn't match the so called stages, right? Right. So, again, with that being said, you know, we always say, we always say the same thing, Cousin Kareem and I. We always say the same thing. Grief is messy. There is no timeline. There is no rule book. There is no right or wrong way for this to go. There isn't.
That's why I think that you said a point. It hit me. Maybe that's why for some people, when you've had, I think it hits when the messiness comes is you're so used, people are so used to structure in your life. You're supposed to be a structure, this structure, that structure, this, and then when grief hits, nobody knows what to do, and that's when the messiness hits, and that's why people get so turned upside down because it is messy, and the struggle is to try to corral that messiness, and that's what maybe Keebler was trying to say. Is I'm trying to give you guys a way of how to corral this unusual, unconforming mess called grief into a structural format so you can go past and move on. Because some people, they can't function after it. Some people are just like, oh, then it hits them later on. And they're like, oh no. And it's like, that's my Kevin Hart verse. Oh no.
Oh goodness.
But,
right. So
yes.
We have one more comment and then we're going to close. So she says, Bosnana09 says, I believe people grieve from here the individual's life condition is. I believe people grieve from this is where the individual's life condition is. It may not be intentional. True. Right. Like I said, Eric, grief is messy. Excuse me. There is no right or wrong way. So to grieve, their grief. Okay, you saying I believe people grieve from their individual's life condition. Right. Um
Yeah.
Grief, right, and grief is not something like we always say. It's an emotional roller coaster. It does not fit tidy in a little box. It doesn't fit, it's not pretty in package. It's not pretty in pink, right?
Yeah. One
So
shoe doesn't fit all. Yeah, it's not one size fits all.
it's not. So, in closing, like as we say, like the stages were never meant to be a strict roadmap. And we're going to do a part two to this. Grief is not linear. It loops, it spirals, it circles, and it comes back. And you're not broken if you don't follow the rules to
Right.
grieving. You're not broken, not by a long shot. And don't allow anybody to tell you that. So, you know, wherever you are in your grief today, you are not behind. And this is an affirmation, okay? Just so to speak. It's a grief affirmation. So, wherever you are in your grief today, you are not behind. You are not doing it wrong. You are grieving as only you can. Let me say that for the people in the back one more time. Wherever you are in grief today, you are not behind. You are not doing it wrong. You are grieving as only you can, the way you want to, right? So, with that being said, on next week's show, we're going to pick up with part two on this, right? It's going to be a part two to this. And in closing, like grief is not an interruption to life. It is life. It's part it's part of actually a love story, so to speak. If you're grieving, you're not broken. You are carrying something sacred.
That's nice. I like that. I like that. It's like the ending part of love, huh?
It is it's actually redefined. It's a redefinition of love.
Yeah.
Grieving is a redefinition. It's a redefining of love. Okay.
It's like
So
putting love into its infinite stage now. Like, like love when somebody is here with us, present with us, it's linear. It's linear. But then once they go on, now it's that everlasting. That's actually pretty deep. I like it.
mhm, it is. It really is. So, with that in mind, with that, hold on to that. Like, hold on to that. When you feel like you're grieving, you have a moment this week and you're remembering a loved one and you're mourning or, whatever, if something triggers your grief, remember it's an extension of love. It's a redefinition of love for that
Yeah.
individual. And with that being said, thank you for spending time with us today on Sometimes We're Bougie, Sometimes We're Hood. If this episode helped, share it with a friend who might need it. You are not alone in this journey. There's no timeline, no right or wrong way to grieve. Honor your feelings, embrace the memories, allow space to heal in your own time. Allow yourself to know that you are not broken in this healing process. We'd love to hear from you, your reflections, your rituals, your road to healing. Connect with us on Instagram under Queen of Life Empowerment or on SBSH Grief Podcast, on Facebook at Sometimes We're Bougie, Sometimes We Hood, and on TikTok at Sometimes Bougie and Hood. Until next time, be kind to yourself, hold space for your emotions, and remember, you don't have to walk this road in silence. Your love is your light, and it still matters.
Yes.
Take gentle care of yourself and breathe. Have a good day.
Enjoy.
It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance.